Hi, Year 11. So, what I thought we would do today is continue with the emulating the Louvre PowerPoint. So, I'm going to get that going now, and you can follow along with me. I'll just talk you through the PowerPoint, and then there's a couple of activities that I would like you to complete. Please do it on OneNote because that way I can check your notebook as you're going through, provide feedback, and it would be as if we were in the class and I'm going through as you're writing. So I'm just going to pop me out of the way. We've done some of this in class. Where am I at? Setting. So we've done the setting in class, and this is where we looked at this setting of Troy. I wrote the example of the CBD, and then you guys had to go on your own. Next is character. So we didn't get a chance to do that last term, so I want to have a look at that now. Let's read through this together. This is when Hecuba first appears, so it's on page 50 if you want to refer back to it. He finds her already risen and sitting, very erect, on the daybed in her sitting room. A cruise lamp is burning at the top of a small copper stand. At her feet, a pot of embers. She suffers from the cold, throws out a feeble warmth. She too has not slept. Her hair is awry. That is what he sees first. But as soon as she catches sight of him, with her old pride and beauty, and the wish to always appear at her best before him, her hand, in a gesture that, like everything she does, is precise, controlled, with its own practical elegance, goes to the bodkin that holds it, and in a moment all is restored. He watches, says nothing. Moved again by the tenderness they have so long shared, he seats himself beside her and takes her hand. It is no longer white now, but veined and mottled like his own with liver-coloured spots, the flesh between the fine bones which his fingertips gently feel, puckered and slack. All right, so there's a lot going on here, and the language, as we would expect of Maloof, is quite beautiful, very poetic, highly punctuated, and that is one thing that I would like you to keep in mind as we go through the type of punctuation that he's using. On the next slide, I've got a few questions. How do we know that Hecuba is elegant and regal, even though this is never explicitly stated? All right, so he's showing us, he's not telling us. So some of the words that I hope you're looking at here is very erect. So she's got this elegant posture that kind of signifies her majesty, I suppose. As soon as she catches sight of him, with her old pride and beauty and the wish to always appear at her best before him, her hand, in a gesture that, like everything she does, is precise, controlled, and with its own practical elegance, goes to the bodkin that holds it. In a moment, all is restored. So this section here as well gives a real sense of her regal beauty, that she's very together. And in this one rare moment where he's walked in on her where she wasn't expecting him, she is a bit of a mess, but she fixes it really quickly. And look at the words he's using: precise, controlled, elegance, pride, beauty. So he's using these words that are indicating how he wants us to view her. That despite everything that's happening, she is still majestic and powerful. How do you know her age? Again, this is never actually stated. Have a quick look through. And here we've got her old pride and beauty. And down here, no longer white, but veined and mottled like his own with liver-coloured spots, the flesh between the fine bones which his fingertips gently feel for, puckered and slack. That is a really beautiful sentence, and I hope that you're having this image in your head of those elderly hands that he's describing, and you can picture, when the liver-coloured spots that kind of model people's skin as they age, the fact that their skin is no longer taut across their hand, but it's It's wrinkled. He's talking about how he can feel her bones through like the layers of wrinkles. And so you get this real vivid image of her age simply through the skin on her hands. What is her relationship with Priam like, and how do we understand this? Again, it doesn't explicitly say he loves her, doesn't explicitly say she loves him or she respects him, but how do we know that this is actually the case? And the wish to always appear her best before him. So there's this idea that this woman wants to appear beautiful for her husband. Moved again by the tenderness they have so long shared, so long shared. So here it's this old love that's between them. He's taking her hand and he's just kind of giving it this gentle squeeze. It's not a passionate love anymore. It's aged, it's matured, and now it's this kind of gentle companionship where he knows her. He knows that she suffers from the cold. He knows that this is unusual. Because he's noticing the abnormality here. We know that she still respects him and wants to appear beautiful for him. All right, so there's all these little hints. That's what I'm kind of trying to get at here, that the author doesn't explicitly say this is what Hecuba is like, but he gives us hints throughout. And so that's what I would like you to think about yours. So the task that you're going to do is going to be similar to mine. So I've attempted, like we did with Troy, I went back and I followed the structure as best as I could here. And I have written a description of Scott Morrison, which was tough. Before we get to that, I just want to draw your attention quickly to the grammar. So here we've got these dashes. He's got 3 dashes, and I'd like you to give them a go. The dash is kind of like a bracket. It's providing additional information. It's interesting, but it's not required. If we were to remove "she suffers from the cold" here, it would say, "At her feet, a pot of embers throws out a feeble warmth." That makes complete sense. That sentence contains all of the information that we require. But this, "she suffers from the cold," is given to us with the dash because that's like another little hint at how well he knows her. And it's extra information that's not required to the idea of the pot of embers giving out warmth, but it gives us information about why it's doing that, because she suffers from the cold. Over here, "she too has not slept." Look at that beautiful short sentence. And we can gather by using that really short sentence, there's a solidarity between them in their grief. She too has not slept. And we understand that not sleeping actually kind of signifies her grief and her misery there. Her hair is awry, dash, that is what he sees first. Again, this is interesting. It's giving us extra information as to the nature of the relationship, but it's not necessary in terms of the statement. It's a statement about how her hair's messy. Do we need to know that that's what he sees first? No, but it's certainly interesting. So use them like that. Have a look at the 2 paragraph, the second paragraph and the third, and note that both of them begin with a really short sentence. "She too has not slept." And then you get this huge sentence over here. This is all one sentence. But as soon as she catches the sight of him with her old pride and beauty and the wish to always appear at her best before him, her hand, in a gesture like everything she does is precise, controlled with its own practical elegance, goes to the bodkin that holds it. In a moment, all is restored. That sentence is enormous. If you want to have a go at emulating that, do so. But I want you to be really careful about your use of commas, because this sentence, if it wasn't punctuated properly, would be an absolute mess. So please keep that in mind. Similar over here in the third one, "he watches, says nothing." And then we've got this long, not as long, but these 2 long sentences here. So I would have a go at doing that too. Signal the key idea in the short sentence, and then you describe it in the long flowing sentences. Again here, signal the key idea. He's watching her, he's saying nothing, and then we're going into his feelings, that he's tenderly taking her hand, that he wants to know her and be there for her. So, grammar, really important. Use your punctuation marks really carefully. All right, let's have a look at my go. Okay, he is already there and seated, lounging idly at the desk awaiting his turn to speak. Before him sits a thick folder, all of the day's key talking points, ready for him to seize and argue. He is bored. He sits hunched and bleary-eyed, but as soon as the speaker turns to him with his old fervour and animation and the wish to seem more in control than he perhaps truly is, he rises and speaks in a voice that is steady and strong and assured, hoping to win back the trust he has lost. He argues and brokers no interruption. Driven by the need to reassert himself, he pleads a passionate case. His position is no longer as secure as it once was, and he fights, hiding his vulnerability under a veneer of aggression and self-righteousness. All right, so I hope that you can see the structure that I've attempted to emulate. So here I've used the dashes to add that again, so this would make sense. Before him sits a thick folder ready for him to seize and argue, but I put the dashes to add that extra information. Now we know what that folder actually contains. I've started these two paragraphs with short sentences, and then I've followed them on with those highly punctuated long sentences. So now it's your turn. I want you on OneNote to have a go at doing that. So you're going to have a shot at Mr. Trump. I would like you to explain to me or to describe Donald Trump. You might want to simply describe him at this picture in this. So here he's clearly convening a meeting and he's listening to someone, maybe you're in your imagination, he's about to shut someone down or is about to, go on one of his rants. So you can choose that. If you want to go online and pick a different picture of Donald Trump, maybe he's playing golf, maybe he's at the presidential podium making some kind of speech at the White House. Maybe he's in the Oval Office doing an address. And I want you to describe that moment. So to do that, what is his core trait that you want to convey for him? So do you want your Donald Trump to appear powerful? And your use of language is going to be very specific to wanting to convey power. Do you want him to appear ignorant? That would be a completely different description, and your language would reflect ignorance. Do you want him to appear arrogant? So you can already start to see how different every single one of your descriptions may be, depending on how you're choosing to portray him. Hecuba here is being portrayed as elegant and regal. We know that she values beauty, she values perfection and precision, and we know that it's also emphasizing the old love between the two characters. Okay, so he's using his time to describe those things. In mine, I'm trying to communicate that Scott Morrison is a bit desperate, that he is quite aggressive and he's trying to get back people's trust. So I'm spending all of my time talking about the fact that he is kind of nervous and he needs to capture people's attention. And then down here, he's getting aggressive. He's becoming self-righteous and just sort of barking at people. So have a think about how do you want him to appear, and then try and portray that through your description. You need to convey these ideas through description. I don't want you to tell me that Donald Trump is powerful. I want you to show me that he's powerful. I don't want you to tell me that you think he's ignorant. I want you to show me that he's ignorant. So is he stuttering? Are his jowls like kind of flapping as he's talking? Or is he speaking with a strong jaw, a strong voice projection? So these sorts of things will all change. Okay, so I want you to hop onto OneNote, and in your notebook, I would like you to start doing this description. All right, so good luck. Have fun with it. It's tough as we found the Troy one, but I think you'll find character a little bit easier. So I'm available. I'll be looking through your OneNotes, and if you've got a question, feel free to email me, and we'll touch base after that. Enjoy. Bye.